Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kurt. Welcome back to Farlands or Bust, episode 206. Breaking out of the beachside hidey hole here. I think we're safe-ish. That's cool. We're on episode 206. Farlands or Bust. Ooh. Hey, guy. Gonna come over here and say hello. But yeah, episode 206. There's Wolfie. Let us fill in the doorway once again. This one is a covert hidey hole. You have no idea it's here. But yeah, continuing on to the Farlands. And as always, I open each episode by giving an update on what we've raised for Child's Play charity. On episode 206, we're up to $11,606. $11,606. That's like $500 since the last episode. That's amazing. You guys are continuing to shock and amaze Careful Wolfie, and very generous donations to Child's Play charity via farlandsorbust.com. I do appreciate it. And like I said before, hey, it's a whole... Oh, it is a whole Spider Island. Wolfie's excited. He just like nudged it. Hey guy, how you doing? Weird. Okay, look at all the spiders. That's unusual. I'm very curious about what goes into the, at least in this version of the game, the spawning algorithms for hostile mobs seems to preference, you know, when you see a creeper, there's normally like 2 or 3 other creepers around or something like that, or like the other episode started, there were 2 skeletons in the water, so... Indeed. I'm not sure if they've changed anything recently, but yeah, anyway, money for Child's Play charity. The more money we raise, the more Farlands or Busts we get, and then the closer and faster we make progress to the Farlands. You'll note how I didn't say the closer and faster we get to the Farlands, because that is a spicy meatball indeed to even think about, but we're trying. So yeah, woof. Ooh, I mean, woof. Voice crack. So yeah, onwards and upwards. Let's get rid of some miscellaneous inventory space. Oh, I can make some arrows if I can find some chickens. We'll get some feathers. Or no, wait, do chickens drop? Yeah, they do. The zombies also drop feathers. Indeed, but yeah, we're back. It is a Monday today. And for those of you who stuck around, I apologize, that last episode, I actually intended to go up Friday evening. So I was talking about events that were to happen Saturday as if they were to happen in the future, when in fact that episode came out on Saturday. The whole YouTube uploads and processing kind of delayed that schedule a little bit, but I was referencing a new video game on the channel. And that video game turned out to be Tomb Raider Underworld. So for those of you who haven't caught it, the first 2 episodes should be up, and I'm having fun. That is going a lot better than I anticipated. A lot more fun stuff. I've already recorded quite a few episodes, so I'm glad everybody seems to enjoy that. Some people were surprised. They didn't realize I was a Tomb Raider fan, and I suppose I hadn't talked about that in a long time. One of the questions from a very early Farlands or Bust actually was from Brian, Lorgon111, is how the first time I actually heard of and talked to Brian, Lorgon111. That's just what he's known as, Brian Lorgon111. And he asked about, you know, my video gaming history, my memories growing up with video games and things, and one of the mentions I make is to Tomb Raider and how it's one of the defining moments in my video game development, I guess you could call it. It's kind of the moment, like I mentioned in the Tomb Raider episode, I went straight from the first Nintendo, the NES, the NES, whatever you want to call it, from the first Nintendo console to a PlayStation. My parental units were not particularly fond of video gaming as a hobby. It was kind of one of the things that was a little bit restricted in growing up. Not sure if that was a good or bad thing, obviously. Despite all that, I've ended up in my current situation doing what I do every single day, so... Woof indeed, Wolfie. So regardless, everything apparently has turned out, except for the fact that I suppose I've missed out on a little bit of what other people in my generation seem to have, all this nostalgia and knowledge of old classic video games that I simply have missed out on, like the Super NES, that whole generation of games, and you know, a lot of stuff that people have nostalgia for, but I simply just missed out on, and I can't really take part in the discussion of. Sometimes makes me feel a little bit inadequate, to be honest, but I think we're doing fine, right? So yeah, I went straight from a Nintendo to a PlayStation, and even at that point, the PlayStation had been out for quite a decent amount of time, so it's not like I got in on the first generation of it either, so... but one of the first games that I had was Tomb Raider, the original Tomb Raider, and played through that, and it was kind of one of those moments... Wait, whoa, what are you doing? Sorry. That's what I meant to do, and I meant to place it down and make a boat out of wooden planks. So yeah, it's one of those games I played, and it was... the story I tell is in the first... which is kind of odd considering my current status as well. Influences. In the first game, about the second level, I believe, one of the early enemies in the game are wolves. Which is why I looked back at Wolfie. It's kind of a weird theme running through my video gaming life. Wolves. And there was one point where you walked... It was one of those scripted events, although it didn't happen all the time as I played through it multiple times, but you walk kind of through a narrow hallway and out into an opening, and out from the corner, a wolf jumps out at you and it scares the bejesus of you. And actually, I was playing the game and... Oh, God. Okay, all right. Speaking of wolves frightening you... I was playing the game, we had it set up in the basement. We had a really old, it had to be smaller than a 17-inch tube television, like one of those old-style tube televisions that were in the... Wolfie, gosh, darn it. Was in those big wooden... Okay, all right, I guess we're getting out of the boat. Wolfie does not want us to be boating right now. You know, one of those old tube televisions with the dials, the knobs, so it was in one of those big wooden cabinets. It was kind of the old TV that got relegated to the basement, and we would hook up the PlayStation to. So I was down there. So, aside from the fact that you're in the basement, which is already kind of a spooky proposition, then all of a sudden a wolf jumps out at you. After you're kind of just intense. This is, keep in mind, the first three-dimensional 3D adventure game I've ever played. Uh-oh, Wolfie can't get this chicken. He's trying, though. He's on the hunt! He looks at me like, what? There you go, well done. Gotta work on your hunting skills. Yeah, so I'm pretty, you know, the first time I'm playing this game, I'm pretty, oh, this is amazing, you know, I'm pretty intense, paying attention as I'm walking through, trying to figure out puzzles and things like that, and then, rough, you know, a wolf jumps out and attacks me. Literally made me jump, drop the controller, and I had to pause the game, and I was literally laughing, literally laughing to myself for like 5 minutes, because... You know, obviously, up until that point, I had been playing Nintendo, and it would have been absolutely absurd to have been frightened by a video game. I mean, there were some frightening video games or whatever, but, you know, you never really jumped at anything or got so immersed, at least I never did, into Mario Brothers or other, you know, similar games like that. So it was a very significant, I could call it a defining moment where I'm like, whoa, okay, there's just this whole new level to video games that I just never saw coming that makes them a little bit more like movies or, you know, actual entertainment art type of, you know, it meshes that two together and becomes this narrative, and really was like, okay, video games are awesome and important, and little did I know at the time how awesome and important they would be later on in life for me. So regardless, let's go to sleep and continue in the morning. And awakeness. And wolves and video gamesness. Indeedness. Oh, I guess when I put the workbench down next, I'll make some arrows. I'll make some arrows. So yeah, Tomb Raider, aside from that, I really enjoyed the storyline. I always kind of wished they had made the movies based on the storyline of the first game. I thought it was a very good storyline, and the way it was presented and everything like that. So, of course, the second and the third Tomb Raiders and onward, and of course, like I said, we've had some disappointments. Angel of Darkness is a terrible, terrible game, and that was the game that then, after that, they switched developers, and it went to Crystal Dynamics, and then they ended up getting Toby Gard back, who was one of the original writers and originators for the Tomb Raider franchise. They got him back, and that's when they came up with Legend, and then Anniversary, and Underworld, and which is why those three kind of follow the same storyline intertwined together, because I guess Toby Gard had a hand in that. But he's also involved in this latest reboot, which I hope... I'm a little bit concerned about how Tomb Raider-y it's going to be, because it's obviously... she isn't Lara Croft Tomb Raider. It's the inception of an adventurer is born, and, you know, the origin story, which they've tried in previous games to explain, like I said, an Angel of Darkness and things like that, and it just hasn't gone well. So, looking forward to it. So hopefully we can get through Angel of Darkness, Underworld, and then in March, hopefully, if it doesn't slip, the date has already slipped. It was supposed to be out for Christmas 2012, but obviously it slipped to March 2013 now, so keeping an eye, see what's going on there. So, very cool. I appreciate everybody checking out that series. It's going to be one of my personal favorites to play, despite how somewhat buggy this version of the game can be on Windows 7 and modern gaming PCs. So we'll deal with it. We'll figure it out. So yes, indeed, continuing with Wolfie. Not much in the way. That looks like that could be interesting over there, but we're not over there. We're going to go this way. I was about to say, not much in the way of interesting landscape. So much. Just going through... yoink. Going through your basic biomes, your basic floating blocks of grassy dirt. Dancing cow. Oh, God. Oh. All right. Well, I guess changed my mind about the interesting landscape. All right. Gotta pay attention. See what happens when I start taking my eyes off the road and looking around at the landscape. Oh, boy. Half a heart damage. We're all right. We've got plenty of bread that we've gathered from Woof and from, what are those things called? Zombie spawners and dungeons and things like that, so... we're good, it's all good. Certainly not as traumatic as that one chasm I fell into accidentally that one time. Oh, flashback. Woof, woof indeed. So yeah, let's. Speaking of spawners, I think we found one, or maybe it's just an opening. Hold on, let's have a seat. I wish to investigate such things as these. Oh, maybe not. I feel like I'm gonna break through into this lake that's next to us. That's a pig. I hear footsteps upstairs and I'm like, get. I don't know if this is actually worth it to investigate, to be honest. Hello, I hear you guys. I don't know that you're actually from a spawner. No, I think it's just like a cave. I mean, there might be a spawner back there, but... How you doing? Nice to see you. It's the tops of your heads. Hello. Maybe it is. Yeah, it probably is a spawner. To be honest, not in the mood, guys. Not in the mood. So let's go. Ooh, let's be careful and let's go, Wolfie. Leave those guys be. Kurt, the humane traveler. Wolf, the old water wolf. You're going to slowly evolve into a sea lion, and then eventually dolphins or whales. Because that's what's happening with evolution. But yeah, let me answer some questions, I guess. Since we are technically halfway into this episode. Squids! Ha! Alright. This is going to be problems for Wolfie, I think. Right. Spawn out here. Oh, well done. You used the staircase. Answering questions. Throwing gravel. From Spores Studios, plural, he has multiple studios. I had a few questions. Segue. I guess continuing what I was already talking about. Have you ever owned a console of any era? And if so, what? And what was your favorite game for it? I owned, like I said, the only consoles I owned. My dad had or still has, an Atari 2600. So that was my first console that I ever played on. And once again, it was kind of a, for a half hour, pull it out, plug it into the old tube television, and then put it away sort of thing. Played, Combat and Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, Outlaw. What else did we have on that thing? Frogger, like I mentioned that before. Pac-Man. Breakout. What else was there? There was a lot of stuff. Some of it I didn't like, and some of it I did. There's some sports one where it was basically just complicated Pong that was like disguised as soccer. Instead of one little paddle, you had like 6 on the screen that you had to control all at the same time, and it was soccer or hockey, stuff like that. So yeah, I had the Atari 2600, then the Nintendo Entertainment System. One of my favorite for that one was probably Excitebike, as I mentioned while playing and rage-quitting PID. Battletoads caused many, many hours of childhood trauma. Never ever got past the 2nd or 3rd level, whichever one it is, the air bike level. Just, ugh. What else did I have for Nintendo? There was a cool, careful Wolfie, oh god. Oh, good job. There was like this stealth fighter game I got for the original Nintendo, which was like kind of, you were in the cockpit and it was like that fake 3D. So that was something I remember from that. Then straight from there to the PlayStation 1, and of course, like I said, Tomb Raider. A lot of games for the PlayStation 1. The first Gran Turismo was kind of like, ooh, racing games are suddenly awesome and accurate. That one I played through, and then I ended up getting... That's one where you had currency in the career mode, and you had to like buy cars for your garage. I ended up going back, and there's a certain point where you just start making so much money that you don't know what to do with it. And I went back and I started buying every 2. I bought 2 of every make and model of car. One of them I left stock so that I could race in the stock races that require you to have an unmodified car. And then the other one I'd modified to the hilt and made it like a complete, the big wings and the new engine swaps and this and that or whatever. So that was, I went a little bit overboard with the first Gran Turismo, but I didn't find the following games to be as exciting, 2 or 3. What else did we have for PlayStation? Just all the Tomb Raider games. I guess I can look to my right. I have them still on my CD rack here. Oh, Destruction Derby 2, another awesome, just a brilliant game. Destruction Derby 2. Woof, Wolfie agrees. Oh, crap! Ha! Ha ha! I've been walking in the wrong direction. See what happens when I get distracted? I wonder when that happened. Oh, that's awesome. Well, I think I've been intentionally walking right, or north, I guess you could say, because the last time we pressed F3, I was quite off as far as my x-axis would go. So I think perhaps we've zeroed that number out. So let's just try our best to walk straight from now on. That's awesome. Well, we got to see this kind of awesome spiry place. Not the first time that's happened. Not the first time. But let's go to sleep and continue walking west this next day. Oh, brother. And walking in the wrong directions-ness. Spelunk. Was it after... I'll have to obviously look back at the tape, but was it after I fell in the hole accidentally? Or was it after the zombie spawner? Ha! That's hilarious. That happens from time to time. Get used to it. So, it's been a while, though. That's funny. So, what was I talking about now? The video games, Destruction Derby 2. Yeah, so PlayStation. And then I went to the PlayStation 2. And that the PlayStation 2 is the last console I've owned, and I haven't plugged that in a long time. The last time I plugged that in, I played long after it was out, but a few years ago is when I finally got around to playing Shadow of the Colossus on the PlayStation 2. It was like bargain bin $5 or whatever like that, but I had never played it, and I had heard so many great things about it, so I played it, and for that purpose, plugged the PlayStation 2 back in, played that through, and then that's the last time I played the PlayStation 2. But yeah, PlayStation 2, one of my favorite games on there was Ace Combat. The first Ace Combat that came out for PlayStation 2, Ace Combat 4? Shattered Sky? No, not Shattered Skies. There was another one that was okay, but the first one for the PlayStation 2 was a really good... and that's another one that was really surprising because it really interwove a good storyline in with this air combat game. And the mechanics and the graphics and everything were really good with that, so... Yeah, I guess that answers my question about consoles. But yeah, I haven't ever been into the latest generation consoles. I just got away from console gaming after I started getting into PC gaming after college. I mean, during college, some of my friends had, like, GameCubes and stuff like that, and we'd be, like, video games. Instead of homework, we'd play Mario Kart and things like that, but otherwise never got into the consoles or the Xboxes or anything like that. So yeah, I never continued on with my console acquiring and just kept with the PC gaming. Which, I mean, there are a few games on consoles that I want to play, like Journey, that seem like cool games, but they're only available on the console for some reason. But, I don't know, hopefully those end up getting ported. If not, well, I'm just not going to play them. Sorry. So yeah, I don't... I'd rather spend money on upgrading a PC versus getting a console. That's pretty much going to sit unused. The other question from Spore Studio is, what was your college major? It switched a lot. And I guess I never... Come on. Spooky things. I switched around not only majors, but actual schools quite a bit. Because as you know, I really was never comfortable with knowing what I wanted to do. It's a little bit of a daunting task. But I started out kind of studying what I guess is known as graphic arts, which is not so much the art, despite the title sounds, not so much the art, but the actual technical side of printmaking, like working with printing presses and inks and big guillotine cutting machines, and I mean that was really cool. And honestly, if you are considering becoming a graphic designer, I would suggest you take courses in that, because it's very often that I see people coming from graphic design schools or backgrounds, and yeah, they can make this awesome looking designs and art and stuff like that, but they do so in a way that makes it very difficult to print because they don't understand the printing processes, you know, CMYK and spot colors and the papers and this and that. So, and that's probably a fault of whatever art school they went to that taught them great graphic design and with the programs and being conceptual artists and things like that, but not so much the technical print making side of things. So my little tip, but that's how I started out with that in a very technical side of things, and that's really cool. But then I ended up switching more, as I said, to the art side, looking at graphic design, and then I went even further away from what would be called, I guess, a practical... Oh, that was disappointing. The practical graphic design side, and I went into actually a fine arts discipline, which was kind of it was almost like an independent major, I guess you could call it. Independent studies was more like taking fine arts courses. People take painting, drawing, sculpture, etc., except on the digital side of things, with computers, fine art with computers, whether or not it be fine art with Photoshop and digital manipulation and stuff like that, but it also involved digital audio, digital video. It was very vague and very broad, very unstructured, which a lot of it, like the audio and video and stuff like that, really plays into and is really helpful for what I'm doing now, obviously, but it's at the time really didn't prepare me so much. After I'd actually... Hey, guy! Actually, I had already gotten a... Careful, Wolfie, there's a skeleton down there. I'd already gotten a degree. I kind of went back and took more classes then on the practical side of graphic design. I only ever took one web design class, and the rest of it I taught myself on my own. And it was actually a really good web design class because they didn't... A lot of these web design classes start you out in Dreamweaver or stuff like that, and using the WYSIWYG programs, and they really don't teach you how to code. I had a good teacher who actually forced us to start learning how to web design with... Careful! With Notepad. So we had to just handwrite all of our code, and that really helps me learn the code and the CSS, and the rest I just learned on my own. And that's how I ended up getting a job as a web designer and graphic designer and stuff. So, yeah, I can't definitively say this was my major because I switched all around. I even took some concentration in advertising, which was very interesting. And advertising was another, I guess, was it last episode? People were asking about what careers I had considered or would consider. This, of course, was before the whole... Careful, Wolfie, jeez. I guess I am kind of at fault for taking us down these perilous cliffs. Boop. Advertising, this was before the hype around Mad Men and thing came around. I'm sure there's a lot of people trying to get into advertising just based on the glamorization through Mad Men. But I took advertising courses, and that was really cool. That's something I could see going into, and Chicago is kind of a hotbed for that stuff. Some of the big ad firms, JWT, I think, are in Chicago. I'm blanking on the specific agencies right now. But yeah, they're doing, mock-up sketches and ad conceptualizing, for those of you who do watch Mad Men, the art director side of things. Not necessarily... Well, I guess, is Don Draper the art director? I guess he is, but, that sort of thing. Marker layouts and things like that. So that was interesting, but I don't know if it's an industry I would really thrive in. It does kind of benefit more of the extrovert personality, what with having to, sell your concepts and designs and add ideas to companies and things like that and blah 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 blah. But yeah, I was all over the place. If one thing I wish I had done, I was kind of too concerned with, and this is my little tip of advice from Kurt for today's episode. For those of you in college or studying, even though I know the schools set you up for this, they kind of set you up to be concerned about what credits you need to graduate. You need this many credits in this discipline, or this many in this, and it's all like almost a game you have to play in order to get everything to add up right so that you can graduate, quote unquote, on time or within 4 years or whatever time they give you. While that's, important, I had wished I had taken courses outside of my concentrations, outside of art, say in English, writing, or sciences, beyond just the requirements, to kind of get a more varied picture. Because, I don't know, maybe if I had taken more science or geology classes, maybe I would have been like, maybe this is something I want to do, and then I would have switched majors. Sure, it would have taken me another 2 years to get a degree in that or something like that, but perhaps things would have been completely different. Who knows? So I would recommend... It seems, like I said, against the grain of what they try to sell you as far as your education goes, and credits and graduation and blah, 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 whatever, credit hours and stuff. So, this snow is going to melt, isn't it, if I put a torch here? Oh, well. Wolfie thinks so as well. He knows the laws of thermodynamics. But yeah, that's, I guess, is to answer those questions. Today's the last day, right? Wow, this feels like it went quick. It was probably because I was walking the wrong way. I wasn't even going in the right direction. Yeah, you have a seat on the grass so that you do not sink in the water. But yeah, here we are. Episode... You know what, perhaps I should do that. I just had this flash of a creeper, standing in that little nook that I left for him right there. Perhaps I should start doing that from now on. Even though that's never happened, I just had a flash. I guess there's a torch out there. They shouldn't spawn. But regardless, yeah, this is episode 206 of Our Lands Are Busts. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you for asking all those questions in the comments below. I will, continue selecting the finest of those to answer during these episodes and during our trek to the far lands, which now has been extended a little bit longer because I cannot seem to keep myself from walking in the wrong direction. But yeah, here we are. Let's make 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Bed, 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 bed. Let's do this, and let's remind everybody to continue. It almost seems like I don't have to remind you, because every time I check the chip in, it seems like we're raising so much money for Child's Play charity, and it keeps me motivated and makes me a happy person indeed. But yeah, you can keep doing that over at farlandsorbust.com using the chip in widget on the home page, donating to Child's Play charity, helping get toys, books, and games to kids in hospitals around the world. That would be much appreciated. I just noticed something. The flame, the animation for the flame, apparently is its own entity. Because as you can see, the shaking from the... Oh, it just disappeared. The shaking from the float point precision errors is actually treating the flames as, as like an object and not necessarily something that's a block, I guess you could say. So I guess the torch itself is a block, but the flames are entities. Cool. Woof. All right, Wolfie's like, go to sleep. Things are spawning out here. I will take your advice to heart. Indeed. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. My name is Kurt. I will see you next time.